Guys, it's a late start, but we're going live for the first time in well over a week. And so we got a lot to cover. Um yeah, it's time for another edition of War a Week Boxing.
Affordable Value presents Big Time Boxing USA on War a Week Radio.
Welcome. Happy Friday evening to all of you guys. It's almost Saturday morning, actually, from where I am. And if you're on the East Coast, it's already Saturday morning. My apologies for the late start, guys. It's just I wanted to get a couple things off my chest and reconnect with all of you guys. First of all, before we move forward, we do have to remind everyone that this show is brought to you by the Lamb of God who takes away the sins of the world and has mercy on each and every one of us, our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. And if you haven't already surrendered your life to him and started a relationship with him, now's the day. No time better than the present, especially today. God bless all of you guys. But look, let's get started, guys. There's a lot to talk about. And I don't even know where to start. Now, the title of this is Zuffa should say no to Shakur versus Haney. And that's reminding all of you guys of how much money they're already paying out. Well above market value from what I've been told. It's absurd money. And Haney's never proven himself to be that big of a pay-per-view commodity, that big of a draw. Now, from what I understand, the Teofimo Lopez pay-per-view did quite well, relatively speaking. It didn't do Canelo numbers, but he's not going to, and he's not expected to. It was a hot matchup, and it caught fire, and a lot of mainstream periodicals and platforms were covering that fight in Madison Square Garden, and it was a sellout, and it was a dominant performance by Shakur. And he would be foolish to turn down this kind of money. And he's doing the right thing by signing with Zuffa, and I'll tell you why. And it's not just for the money. The problem with being on DAZN, and this is a problem that our business of boxing has in the American market, right? It doesn't even matter. If all promoters, and right now, DAZN in the American market is working with all major promoters. PBC is on board now, and like all of them, Top Rank is on now as well. And they still have only about 420,000 subscribers from what I've been told. It's dismal. And that's why they're charging everyone who's financially supporting boxing at this time in the American market. That's why they're charging us $45 a month if you get the premium package. And of course you would, right? Because you get all of the pay-per-views. once a month. And you get all of the events, including tomorrow night's efforts, right? From Matchroom Sport in Carson, California. It's going to be a great fight card. Really looking forward to it. Pacheco versus Aline. Should tell us a lot about Pacheco moving forward, right? So we're going to get into that in a bit as well. But here's the problem. It only has 420,000 subscribers. So how are you supposed to build attractions into mainstream commodities if no one's watching? How are you supposed to? If it's not on a mainstream platform with a lot of subscribers, how are you supposed to build commodities? Once again, guys, when is the last time in the American market a mainstream commodity was born and where it was cultivated? That was Canelo Alvarez, guys. You could say Tank Davis, but he never reached the level of a Canelo. And let's be honest, Canelo has never reached the level of an Oscar De La Hoya or a Manny Pacquiao or a Floyd Mayweather Jr., right? Canelo's never reached that level. But right now, he is by far the biggest star. And once again, what are all of those guys have in common? They were all cultivated on a big time platform like HBO because they had the outreach, they had the subscribers. But the world has changed. Everyone has a platform now. Everyone has an app. There's so many businesses competing for our entertainment dollar. And look, I'll be honest, because of Floyd Mayweather's dominant influence on this generation of prize fighters, yeah, it hasn't left put it this way, a scintillating product to the mainstream and casual fans, and those are the ones that we depend on to build the big events. Diehards are great, but it's not enough. This is why you see promoters making the circus events and interested in crap like Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul. And without HBO, without Showtime, without ESPN, how are we supposed to, on DAZN, with that limited subscriber base, how are we supposed to cultivate and nurture any future superstars? It's almost like Ryan Garcia is popular in spite of being on DAZN. He's popular through Instagram, through YouTube, through every other platform, major platform that he's affiliated with. And it has nothing to do with DAZN. Now, DAZN, everywhere else, they're doing okay. They've got 17 million subscribers, over 17 million around the world. And it's very healthy in the UK market and in the European market. But in America, 420,000 subscribers. That's ridiculous, guys. You cannot build a mainstream attraction with that kind of limited outreach. So Shakur Stevenson is doing the right thing by signing with Zuffa, and it's not only about the money. It's about becoming a big-time mainstream attraction. That's why he signed with Zuffa, guys, and he did the right thing. As much as I love DAZN, you can't build anything from that. And look, it's not like here, like with all of the major promoters working with DAZN right now, and all of the best fights being made thanks to Turki Al-Sheikh footing the bill for most of it. It's like, well, wait a minute. You've got all the major promoters on one network, and you've got all of the best matchups being made, most of them anyway. And you only have this amount of subscribers? Yeah, that's an indictment. Like, if you're the CEO or the sports president of sports programming on a certain platform, are you really gonna waste your time with that if it's not and once again, look how much these fighters are requesting. They're requesting millions of dollars for that product. And then now, once again, I go back to Jaron Boutsenis versus Xander Zayas. Do you know why that fight was so fun? And it was a one-sided fight, really. But, that third round brought us a lot of drama. And it was beautiful to see two guys just slug it out in the pocket. You know why it was so entertaining and such an anomaly nowadays? Because, yeah, we're used to seeing now the American fighter influenced by Floyd Mayweather Jr. And once again, that's not Floyd's fault. He did what he did, but he's an anomaly. Guys, go throughout history. And how many fighters throughout boxing's rich history have been safety and defensive minded and becoming the biggest attraction in boxing? Go look up your history. That's never happened before. Mainstream and casual fans like to see fights. They like to see guys throw down. They want to be inspired by something that they could never do in a million years. Wow, how are they taking that much punishment? Man, how are they taking those shots? And he keeps coming back. He is willing to walk through fire for a belt. Yeah, man, that gets people amped. That gets people talking. Is that what we see today? No. Look at the disappointing TNT card, DAZN on TNT. Look at that card, Top Rank put together. It looked great on paper. How did it play out? With the open scoring on Shakur or Shushu Carrington's fight card? Yeah, he stopped working after round 8. And it almost cost him. He got hurt with a body shot in the 11th round. And then you look at the main event. It wasn't exactly the most scintillating fight. And Scooter Davis disappointed on the big stage. It's in what is the common denominator there? It's all of these fighters have that same mentality. They don't want to bang in the pocket. They want to pick and poke in a fencing contest. And their mindset is, oh man, I'll follow the art of hit and not get hit. It doesn't really do anything to inspire fans today. That's why boxing is where it is in the American market. And that's why Jaron Boutsenis versus Xander Zayas was such a breath of fresh air. And that's why in the American market, boxing is where it is. And in the other market, thriving because they actually fight. And these clowns, they, once again, because of Floyd's influence, guys like Devin Haney, guys like Shakur, they expect Terrence Crawford, they expect to be paid absurd, life-changing dollars for that. I'm sorry, guys. Look, I'm going to remind you of a dear friend of mine who's a casual fan, who used to be an avid fan. Now he doesn't even watch. And he stopped watching after Canelo versus Jermell Charlo. And he told me, you know what? This is why I'm not a big fan. He goes, maybe I'm stupid. Maybe I don't know what I'm looking at in the ring. But, I like to see and I expect to see more fight in my fights. Is he wrong? No, he's not wrong. So let's go back to our original topic, right? Zuffa should say no to Shakur versus Haney. They're already paying Shakur Stevenson absurd amounts of money. Like, oh my gosh, man, it's ridiculous. Is he worth that? When has he ever proven to be a ticket seller? Now they're investing money, understanding that he is one of the best fighters in the sport today. Maybe one of the best technical, maybe the best technical fighter in boxing today. But is he entertaining? In his last effort, he sure made a strong case. He really put on a clinic, beating Teofimo Lopez, almost stopping him late. And he sold out Madison Square Garden. That's impressive. Ask Edgar Berlanga if he can sell out Madison Square Garden. He can't even sell out the, I don't know what it's called now. It used to be the Hulu Theater, the house that Kovalev built, right? He can't even sell that theater out. And that's next week. But has he proven to be worth that much money? No, it's an investment to them. So you might see Shakur Stevenson fighting for the Zuffa belt. But here's the problem. Haney seems to think that he has some leverage and that Zuffa needs him. Think about this, guys. You're already paying Shakur Stevenson a shit ton of money. A huge inflated purse. And Haney was like, who else is he going to fight in 35, 40? I'll fight him, but you're going to have to pay me somewhere around $10 to $15 million. I would tell him to go get stepping. Because think about that style matchup, guys. Yeah, it's gonna turn a lot of heads. It's gonna raise a lot of eyeballs. But do you really want a lot of eyeballs on that matchup? How does that play out, guys? Now think about this, and you guys know boxing. Is it entertaining at all? Guys, think about that. How does the matchup play out? Now we'll leave things on that. I'm gonna say hello to our dear friends in the chat. Bam, good to see you. Bam Bam Bigelow. Love it. God bless you, man. And his own ultimate package for $49.99 per year. Yeah. And look, it's worth it if you're a boxing fan, because it's better than paying for every pay-per-view. And guys, what's the alternative? Are we going to steal it? No. Because that hurts our beloved boxing. It hurts the business. If you steal it and they stop making money, it's going to eventually go away. There is no business model that can flourish if your clientele starts stealing the product. You'll eventually go out of business. Hawker, good to see you, my friend. Smooth Life. Joseph, you may not remember me, but this is Lennar. Oh, Lennar! How are you, man? Good to see you, brother. If you're not doing anything, click the link, man, and join me if you're able to speak this late at night. That's a Larry Merchant quote, and I love it. He says, nothing will kill boxing and nothing can save it. Well, yeah, you know what? He should know. He should know that, yeah, Floyd Mayweather versus Manny Pacquiao pretty much destroyed boxing as we used to know it. It's gone. And you're not going to revive it with guys who don't want to engage and look like they're afraid to get hit. That's the problem. That's the problem, guys. Hawker Mustang says, most people don't care about boxing. They just care about boxing drama. Look, if they don't care about boxing, why the hell would they care about the drama? It's nonsense and noise. We want to see some action. Look, brother, this is why they're still, and this is why Larry Merchant said what he said. Nothing will kill boxing, but nothing can save it. This is why he said nothing can kill boxing, because whenever there's a great matchup that captures the imagination of the mainstream and casual fans, all eyes are on it. They want to see who's going to be the victor. They want to see guys throw down. They want to see who's going to have that greater resistance of punishment. They want to see guys who are willing to walk through fire and prove their worth. But you cannot build up this spectacular event and get two guys staring at each other, not willing to let their hands go. It doesn't work. Major Key, good to see you, my friend. God bless you, my brother. I hope you're doing well. Anker says, a boxing insider the other day told me that Tank Davis is the... Okay, well, then he's not he's not an insider of boxing then. Because Tank... You know, this is... And it hurts my heart to say this. But yeah, he's an afterthought now. Who cares about Tank Davis? No one cares anymore. He couldn't even get that fight on Netflix with Jake Paul. They said no because of everything he's done outside of the ring. And it's his own damn fault. I hate to say that, man, but it's true. He's not the face of America. And if he is, well, no wonder we're on life support in the American market. Hawker said, I thought about it and said, well, I guess that would explain why I'm like, yeah, there it is. Oh, boy. Major Key says, he sees Major Key and thinks, Andrew, what? Oh, yeah, I don't care about that, Major Key. And you know, man, I'm not a fan of any one fighter. I'm a fan of boxing. And I've been in this business for such a long time now that I don't view the fights the same way most fans do. So I don't even care about that, brother. Love you, man. Always enjoy the commentary as well. Hold on. TNT's The Fight averaged 661,000 viewers. It was very successful, Joe. Yeah. In what universe is that successful? Guys, it's my pleasure to introduce to the show once again our brother, boxing, my brother. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing well, brother. I just wanted to click the link real quick because you were delayed in reading the responses. I didn't want you to think that I wasn't saying anything pertaining to anything personal. It was literally like when I said hello, you started talking about Boots and Xander, and so it was perfect timing. So that's why I said that. But it wasn't like anything personal. I just wanted you to.
Okay, very good.
Yeah. It was delayed. It was delayed.
Let me ask you something.
Sure.
Everyone is amped up for Anthony Joshua's return and the return of Errol Spence Jr. And you notice what fight they're not talking about that's happening that same weekend? Berlanga and Hitchens debut with Zuffa Boxing. And they're getting paid absurd amounts of money, and they haven't even sold out that little theater that holds maybe about 4,500 people.
Interesting. I mean, but let's be honest. We as boxing aficionados, we know who Hitchens is. But Berlanga, as far as his Puerto Rican fan base, is probably already like, okay, he lost a couple times. It's just not like a really big deal. He doesn't have, like some people make fun of him. He doesn't have Fat Joe and the Terror Squad at every fight event anymore. He doesn't have that whole backing. it's not really the same height that he had at one point. I went to one of his fights. I still have footage on my channel from when I went to his fight with Damon Nicholson, and then I actually interviewed Nicholson after that, to find out if he had actual power or not, because from what I saw prior to that, it would look like, to me, I felt like Berlanga in a way was a lot like Deontay Wilder in the sense that there was a lot of missed shots that hit people behind the head that forced those knockouts from wild shots. You know what I mean? But that's just me. With that being said, it came down to Richardson Hitchens versus Edgar Berlanga, and I don't think Berlanga has that steam behind him anymore. That whole that whole supportive backing that he would normally get as a Puerto Rican, especially since he's not straight off the island of Puerto Rico. They prefer people off the island. You know what I'm saying? So they'll back you up as a U.S. type of Puerto Rican that's represent Puerto Rico if you're good enough. But they prefer people off the island.
Yeah, of course they do. Do me a favor, while I'm talking, can you mute your sound, please?
Yeah. I got background. I live by the lake, so there's a lot of traffic passing by right now. I will.
No problem, brother. No problem. I'll tell you what, though, guys, and Major Key has the beat here. Berlanga, he's from New York. He's not a Puerto Rican. He's of Puerto Rican descent, but he's not from the island. That carries a lot of weight to the Puerto Rican faithful. And Major Key knows this, and that's why I mentioned it. And look, after his, disrespectful and language at these press conferences, throwing fishnets and panties at Oscar De La Hoya, a legend in this sport. And when he was a fighter, he was the biggest attraction in boxing. He was the golden boy, representing America in the Olympics, winning the gold. He's the golden boy. And to treat that guy at a press conference and throwing fishnets at him when you haven't accomplished any, that's not a good representation of your character, and that's not a good representation of this sport. And the fans deserve better. That's what I'm saying. What is Zuffa even paying for, Major Key? Why are they throwing this money at guys who are, they're not going to be or become big attractions in this business? They don't have that potential.
Well, so my quick response would be, I feel like they're trying to learn. They have enough money to try to learn what sticks and what doesn't. It's like throwing pasta against the wall, right? It's see what sticks. And so right now they don't know Puerto Ricans. They don't know the crowd. They heard that Puerto Ricans are a big fan base, so they're trying to see what's going to stick. But Berlanga's the wrong bet. Berlanga, you know what I'm saying? Like it's not like, it's not like Berlanga's more like a Zurdo, if you ask me, for Mexicans. He's not really like, you know what I mean? Like, he's not going to get that whole fan base riled up because they already know that. Yeah, I mean, it's just not going to happen. It's not the same thing. When you get a Canelo straight out Chihuahua, some rare dude that is light skinned, look like he's Irish, coming and being people's ass, like that's something that's rare, and people they kind of tend to rotate around that. But yeah, Berlanga is not the one, even though he was called the one, which is the crazy thing about what I'm saying. But at the end of the day, he's not, and everybody knows that now. But he did have a big hype around him at the beginning, So yeah, that's my analogy right there.
So I'm going to bring this comment up, and I want you to respond, because this is a great point, and this is what I'm going to talk about later on in the show. Mankey Crazy, welcome to the show, sir. He says, why do they pay so much for these so-called headliners anyway? When Fox and PBC showed it does not work. Yes, that's my point exactly. Look, when you pay out inflated purses, not only do these guys lose that hunger, they don't care about being active and staying active. You've already paid them life-changing money for one fight. And when you pay fighters millions for soft touches, how much it makes it impossible to put together the best fights, How much do you think a guy like Berlanga, getting paid millions for this soft touch, is going to expect for a real fight, a big-time matchup? Yeah, he's going to want to open up the bank vault, and it's bad for the business of boxing. So fans, don't think that I'm just eyeballing anyone's wallet. I'm not. Look, I'm all about the business of boxing. And guys, look, in order to solve or provide a solution for the business of boxing at this time in the American market, you have to identify the problem. And right now, the problem is paying out inflated purses when we don't have the demand that we used to. The demand is what ultimately sets your market value in any business. And if there's no demand, where do the fighters think that the money's supposed to come from? And I don't want to hear that, oh, I risk my life. Oh, I risk my life every time I step in the ring. Well, you know what? I know 4-rounders that are only getting paid $500 a round. And you mean to tell me his life isn't worth as much as yours? No. Your market, your demand determines your market value. And if you're not drawing ratings, and if you're not putting asses in seats, where do you think the money's supposed to come from? So why is Dana White throwing absurd amounts of money to these guys who have already proven that they're not big attractions? So there it is, Major Key. What say you, brother? What's your response for this question?
So I wholeheartedly agree. And I don't know if you remember this, but in the middle of COVID, I actually was on record saying that I disagreed that the PBC was going to be a sustainable company moving forward. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And for the same exact reasons that you're stating about Zuffa boxing right now. And for the same reason you started off, because you obviously know that's what happened when you said Fox News and you know, these other entities. It's absolutely the same thing. You can't buy 200 people and bring them into your camp and expect by overpaying them that you're going to be a sustainable company when it's a niche sport and there's just not that much of a demand. You've already said that right now, and you're absolutely on point. And that's the same problem that Zuffa is going to have unless they just doing it just because they want to. Because I mean, they have their own money. If they want to invest their own money into it, because they're princes or whatever, go ahead, you know. But if it's something that has to tie back to the taxpayers of that particular country or the people that are looking for a return, then that's a different story, right? But as far as like a real good business sense, that doesn't make sense. It really doesn't make sense. So you're absolutely on point with that.
So look, it would be a wise investment if these guys fought. Most of these guys fought in a manner that actually turned heads and brought attention to the sport, at least positive attention, right?
True, but then they'd have to do something, and I apologize for cutting you off. I just want to, if any, but it would make sense if there were that much attention. So they have to spend more money promoting, because it looks like what they're trying to do is just get people at their peaks and expect some fireworks and just, they have to promote. So they're going to have to do what Top Rank does. They're going to have to do what other companies do to build their fighters and also bring those big events, once they're cooked enough, if that makes sense.
Okay, well, let me ask you then, what are the big events? When you're paying Shakur Stevenson, from what I understand, almost $20 million per fight for the next 5 or 6 fights. When you're paying that guy that much money, what are the matchups that are going to yield that kind of return?
Man, listen, again, I didn't agree with the PBC model. I'm on record saying that. So if they're going to do something like that, they're going to have to, like, every single fight is going to be like a main event type of deal, man. Like, look, one of the things that Mayweather did well, you know what I'm saying? I'm gonna give credit to him on this because I don't agree with Mayweather at some points, but that's between me and Mayweather because I paid for every freaking one of his pay-per-views, just like I paid for every one of Cotto's pay-per-views and I paid for every one of Manny Pacquiao's pay-per-views. I did that throughout those days. Every single main event was in my house. Everybody came to my house, so I'm a fan like that. But let me tell you this. So that's between me and Mayweather. But what Mayweather did right during that era, he always put on somebody that people thought would beat him.
Yep.
He always and he promoted the shit out of it. And this is when social media was just becoming popular. He was doing the best he can to convince people that were skeptical online, and he was doing the shows, whether it was Showtime or HBO first, with Max Kellerman and all that stuff, like doing those little things to build intrigue and to really promote the fights, and people doubted every single time he got in the ring whether he was going to win or not. And that's the type of shit, the type of intrigue that you have to bring to the table. And I don't think that these guys are fighting enough. They're not convincing enough. Everybody's just like, they talk a lot. But look, even like Boots, man, shout out to Boots because he did win. But by just saying, hey, you're just going to see it in the ring. You're just going to see it in the ring. That's not enough shit talking. That's not Mayweather level shit talking. That's, what I'm saying? That's not enough shit talking, man. We need more than that. You know what I'm saying?
Man, I mean, it was a brilliant performance. On the Zone pay-per-view, right, against Xander Zayas, and credit to Xander Zayas, man. He really stood his ground and he made a gallant stand in the third round, and it was breathtaking. It was so much fun to watch.
It was. I subscribed to them for the year for that. I literally did, just for that fight. I did.
Outstanding. And see, and we're still talking about that matchup, right? Look, hold on. I'm going to address this real quick. This is bothering me. Smooth Life, welcome to the show, sir. He says, boxing is where it is because it's too fragmented. Really? With all promoters working on his own and Turkey Al-Sheikh funding the best matchups in boxing over the last 2.5, 3 years? No, that's not our problem. Once again, we have all of the major promoters working on one network, and our numbers are still abysmal. That's not our problem, dude.
So I mean, he does realize that the link is in the chat. I mean, right? So I mean,
yeah. Hey, it's free for everybody. Come on, bring it. Look, hold on. Hold on. The Boxing Scholar. I don't know what y'all discussing, Joseph, but that title sounds like hate. Hey, Boxing Scholar, Brandon, good to see you, man. Click the link. Come on board, man. But it's
like
not
Boxing
hatred.
Scholar.
He's a good guy. He's a good dude. Click the link, man. And once again, it's not hatred. It's not hatred. And once again,
I didn't click the link thinking that it was hatred neither. Like when I clicked the link, I thought it was an objective opinion. That's all I thought. You know what I'm saying? Well, I didn't take it no type of way.
It's what we just discussed. They're pouring like everything that Dana White used to complain about within the business of boxing. You remember his biggest complaints? Oh, it's like a going out of business sale. It's like they're paying outrageous amounts of money and not getting any return, ensuring that the platform isn't going to make any money or get any return on their investment. So why are they doing it? And guess what? He makes Al Heyman look like a prince with the amount of money that he's paying to a bunch of non-attractions.
Yeah. Well, and that's what I was trying to say. Like, that's why I brought PBC as an example, because I remember having these discussions with a lot of people. I'm pretty sure Scholar, because I've been doing this for a long time. I'm pretty sure Boxing Scholar has been on maybe 1 or 2 panels at least, where I said that PBC was going out of business. And it didn't seem like they were sustainable back in the days, because I used to get a lot of hate about it, man, on a bunch of channels. But I didn't care, because I knew that I was speaking from the heart about boxing, period. I felt like it was something going wrong to boxing, so that's the way I felt about it. But, I mean, everybody's entitled to their opinions.
Yeah, look, it boils down to this. And Don Chargan taught me this a long time ago, and this is why we're called War Week Boxing. because I learned everything about the business from my mentor, Don Chargan, one of the greatest promoters and the greatest matchmaker to ever exist within this business. He taught me a long time ago that paying out inflated purses is never good for the health of the sport. You always have to pay in accordance with fair market value. And what determines fair market value? The demand. The demand.
Buyer's
Now, once
market,
again,
just like timeshares, brother.
That's
it's a
it.
buyer's market, bro.
That's it,
Just like
guys.
timeshares, bro.
That's it. And why no one in this business understands this. It's almost like Dana White was, look, as much as I dislike Dana White personally, everything that he criticized boxing for was absolutely right on the money. That it's like it's not a sustainable business model. So what's going to happen if Turkey Al-Sheikh decides, yeah, you know what, I'm going to back out of boxing. I'm not going to pay for these events any longer. It's not getting any better in the American market. I'm investing all of my money in the UK and in Saudi. That's it. What does boxing do then? What does the business of boxing do then if Turkey Al-Sheikh decides to pull out? Can they sustain all of these big purses? No. Is there a demand enough to sustain all of these big purses? No. Something has to give, guys. Either the diehard fans of boxing, the demographic that promoters and networks could depend on for decades. Now, the overwhelming majority of them are stealing the product by illegally streaming everything. That's a huge problem, guys. And when you couple that problem of piracy with the paying out inflated purses and these guys getting used to receiving millions for soft touches, something has to give. And this is why no other mainstream platform is interested in boxing at this time. ESPN's in boxing now, but they've resorted to going to the lesser dollar amount of women's boxing and just featuring Jake Paul's MVP events on ESPN. And Netflix is only interested in the big names, right? So what do we do? What do we do? Guys, something has to give. Either all of our diehard brothers in this boxing community, they have to stop stealing it and start paying. Guys, come on, the price of a pay-per-view. Now, I guarantee you, most of our diehard brothers are going to go down to the bar and pay more on their tab, or pay more if they have a girl going out and taking her to dinner and showing her a good time. And for some reason, they justify stealing the event every time. And I understand why, but it doesn't make it right. I understand why. So for decades, and this is how they rationalize it, Major Keen, tell me if I'm wrong. They rationalize it by saying, you know what, for decades, as long as I've been alive, we've been expected, the only sports fans in the American market, to have to pay for every single major event. And now we have the opportunity to stream it in HD for free. Boxing owes us, and we're not going to pay another penny for it. That's the dilemma. What say you, brother?
So one thing I will say is that I'm from the Bronx, New York, and we did have what was called the box back in the 80s, where it was like the first, the box where you got cable from. And they used to send bullets out. That's what they called them, bullets, which is like some kind of energy thing that shut it off and knocked it off when you were illegally streaming. And then we had the people in the house in the party that was already with like the part of the company that was the cable company. So they would fix it within seconds and we'd have it back up and running. But that was but we did pay for the fights most of the time. Don't get it twisted. So I'm just saying. So it was still existent back in those days. But no, me myself, I do know what you're saying. Like I paid for that my whole life. Like I said, I paid for every single Manny Pacquiao fight, every Miguel Cotto fight, and every Mayweather fight since they were pay-per-view, and I also paid for De La Hoya. So that's why one of the reasons I dislike when people hate on De La Hoya is because De La Hoya did actually give Floyd Mayweather that opportunity, and they did fight on pay-per-view, and that was a dope-ass fight. Yes, absolutely, man. You know what I'm saying? So I was there. I watched those fights. You know what I'm saying? I literally understand. I was subscribed to Showtime just to watch the Super Six and stuff like that. Like I literally subscribed to certain channels just for boxing. So I am one of those true sports fans that did that. I paid for it, and I understand that right now what's going on is kind of effed up. But it's also upon the responsibility of a lot of these guys that are charging too much too. So I'm going to challenge you on that, Joseph, because I think that you're right, that people should pay for what they want to watch. But a lot of these freaking people are overpricing stuff and they're holding stuff out, and people are not really intrigued. Like they're not really intrigued. They feel like they're being robbed. You know what I'm saying? Okay. And I'm not mad at them for thinking that. You see what I'm saying? Like I understand where you're coming from.
So that's the other side of the problem, right?
Yep.
So once again, we couple piracy with inflated purses. Why do you think they're asking for that much money per pay-per-view? Because these guys are demanding absurd amounts of money for tough matchups, because they've grown accustomed to receiving millions for soft touches. So something has to give. That's my point. That's the problem.
If that's what they're expecting, just like any other business, if you ask for let's say you're working at a job and you say, hey, I need I need a raise right now for this amount, and they tell you no, are you going to quit? Because if you're either going to quit or you're going to continue working, one or the other, and that's what it just needs to be what it is. Are you going to stay on the shelf or what? What are you going to do? Because we can't afford that. That's it. And just explain it to them logically. And, if they don't believe it, they don't believe it. But it's the truth, though. It is the truth, because even us as outside observers can see that.
Yep. And so put your mic on mute for a second, brother.
I will, brother. I apologize. Yeah, I will.
No, it's okay. I appreciate you being here. And so that's the problem, right? That's the problem. And that's why my headline states, and it's not being hateful, Zuffa should say no to Shakur versus Haney. Why? Because it's not cost effective. In my opinion, they need to wash their hands of all of these entitled American fighters who are demanding millions for soft touches and don't furnish a product that is going to produce fireworks, right? What they need to do is just wash their hands and say, we're not interested in signing those guys because they're not ticket sellers. They demand millions and they're not drawing ratings. Look at DAZN's numbers. What we're going to do is we're going to start from the ground up, and we're going to invest in amateurs and local fighters, and we're going to show guys who are interested in throwing down, in fighting in the pocket, like when is the last time we've seen Brandon Rios versus what's his name? Mile High what's his name? Gosh, I forgot.
I know exactly what you're talking about. Mikey or what's his name? I know exactly. Alvarez.
No, Alvarado.
Yeah, I thought Alvarez, but yes, Alvarado. Yeah, Mike Alvarado, right? Yeah, I know what I'm talking.
Yep, like when is the last time we've seen that? Guys, when is the last time we've seen Izzy Vasquez versus
Rafael Marquez?
That's right. When is the last time we've seen this? Guys, this is not, it's not rocket science, guys. Fans want to be dazzled. If they're paying money They're paying money for the ticket, and they're going to a live event, hiring a babysitter, going to a live event. They want to get their money's worth. Look, you can talk all you want at the press conference. You can talk all you want at social media, but unless you throw down in the ring and don't look like you're afraid to get hit, it's not worth it. And exactly what you're saying, Major Key, is they feel like they're getting ripped off because the product isn't what it used to be. Do you remember the days of the big time fights living up to its billing, like Mike Tyson versus Evander Holyfield 1?
Of course I do, man. Hey.
Dude, that's what made this. Like, it's wars like that. Like, and we used to see that, like, guys as old as myself, we used to see that on network TV. Wide World of Sports. Joe Frazier versus Muhammad Ali. That was a war. All three of them. And that's what we grew up watching. That inspired us to become diehard fans. Now, Major Key, I'm going to ask you, what fight did you witness as a young man that caused you to have that just avid, what caused you to be a diehard fan? What fight, and I know you remember this, what fight caused you and inspired you to become a diehard fan of boxing?
That's a great question, because here's the thing. So I was groomed from my grandmother with a lot of boxing in the early 80s, you know what I'm saying? So she was a fan of Sugar Ray Leonard. She was a fan of Mike Tyson. She was a fan of what's my guy's name from Puerto Rico with the you know uh, the little a snake in the front. Man, he got killed. I forget only because
Are you talking about Camacho?
Hector Camacho, exactly. So it's like she used to play all that stuff, and like the news. She would listen to the radio in Spanish, and they were always talking about Camacho, and she would have newspapers out, and they would show clippings of Camacho and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? But she also was a big fan of like Sugar Ray Leonard. She was a big fan of Tyson in his early career, and other people too. You know, she was just a fan of boxing. So they brought me into it. Brought me into it. But what I'm going to tell you, I think the biggest one there was Sweet Pea versus I'm sorry, not Camacho, Chavez. Yeah,
that was
Sweet Pea versus Chavez. Yeah. That was the biggest fight that I think that brought me back in, because she was voting for both of them at the same time. She loved both of them. Like she just wanted to see who was going to win. You know what I'm saying? She was happy at the outcome, but she also was a little sad. She thought Sweet Pea won. You know what I'm saying? This is a Puerto Rican woman that didn't even speak English. Puerto Rican woman, and loved Camacho and Chavez, because Chavez wasn't the one he was fighting. But I'm saying she loved Chavez and thought he was great, but she felt like, oh wow, Sweet Pea probably won that one. You know what I'm saying? And she felt like it was a little wrong that he got the win, that Chavez got the win. So you know what I'm saying? So with that being said, but we also watched a bunch of other fights. Now, what intrigued me after that, because I stopped watching fights for a little while. I did watch fights, but I'm going to say that, man, look, well, let me not even dig down that rabbit hole. I'll just answer your question, period, because there's a whole nother rabbit hole to go with everything else.
Yeah, man, I'll tell you what, man. Honestly, dude, in my opinion, from what I remember, what captured my imagination as a child, and I couldn't wait to see what happened. I couldn't believe that these two badasses were finally getting in the ring in the welterweight division. In my mind and in my heart, and my dad was so amped up about it, and that's who actually taught me everything I know about the business or about the sport and being a fan, and to get into this business. It was Sugar Ray Leonard versus Hitman Hearns. That was a humongous fight. That was all action, and both guys were killers. They were undefeated at the time, in their prime. And this captured the imagination of the entire sporting universe. And it delivered. It was a dramatic fight where Sugar Ray Leonard was losing. And then he just pulled it out and hurt Hearns, and he never was able to recover in the later rounds. Brilliant, brilliant performance. Like, think about the first fight that we ever saw on Showtime Championship Boxing. Their first ever fight on Showtime Championship Boxing was Marvin Hagler versus John the Beast Mugabe, moving up to 160, right? Oh my gosh, man, it was breathtaking. And it ruined both fighters. But dude, we talk about that fight today. Can you think of any fights that are happening today that we're going to be talking about 10 years from now?
And that's my problem. I think that it's oversaturated. And I apologize to Bam Bam in the chat because, again, I live by a one road route that's a major route. It's actually a U.S. route, and it comes from downtown in a very popular spot in Florida. And so everybody uses this route to get to the main interstate, which is I-4. So pretty much you get nothing but loud trucks and motorcycles walking by. That's stuff. And I'm not going in my house right now. I'm talking to you guys on my balcony. So with
Thank
that
you,
being
brother.
said, apologies for that.
Being here, man.
Yeah, no. So I'm gonna fall back and just, you know what I'm saying. But yeah, I mean, I agree, man. Look, we've seen some great fights in the past. I'm just gonna say that I'm glad that I grew up in the era that I grew up in, because even as a casual fan, as a youngin, I still know more about these supposed experts nowadays, because all they do is hate and they rage bait and they talk about things that are nonsense, and it's not actual boxing. When you can talk about boxing, you can talk about, you don't need to use a triangle theory. You can talk about actual skills and break down a fight like that, you know. But so it is what it is. But shout out to you, brother. Thanks for having me up again, and shout out to the chat. All right.
God bless you, Major Key. Thank you for coming on, man.
To you, brother. All right, peace, man.
So that's it, guys. And once again, that's the problem I have with the reason why I think Zuffa should say no to Shakur versus Haney, because it's going to cost them potentially over $30 million to put together. And they have all that money from that huge deal with Paramount Plus, and it's going to attract a lot of eyeballs. But is that going to be good for the health of the sport? Now, once again, styles make fights, guys. And when you look at these guys who aren't interested in trading in the pocket, why would you invest that much money in a product that isn't going to deliver? That's not me hating, man. That's me being a realist and understanding the business of boxing. That's it. Oh, geez. Yeah. I can't I can't blame you there, brother. Honestly, I don't know if I would invest my time in Shakur versus Haney. That has stinker written all over it. So in my opinion, Zuffa, Dana White, if he really wants to make an impact on this business, one, stop paying out inflated purses. Just because you can pay these guys out absurd amounts of money doesn't mean that you should. Paying out inflated purses that don't reflect their accurate market value never is good for the health of the sport. Never. And that's something. And once again, this is one of the reasons on this channel why we profess the rules of the business of boxing. Put together, established by the great men that we're merely standing on the shoulders of. Yeah, because they're finite. They're absolute. They work, right? And if you don't, and if you think you can reinvent the wheel, you're going to learn very quickly that it's a losing endeavor. Respect the badasses who made this business what it is today. And look, it's a far cry from what we've like what made us diehard fans to begin with. What we're seeing now is far cry from that. Corrales Castillo, Gaddy Ward, Tyson Holyfield. I mean, come on, guys. We're not seeing anything even close. The Taker has the beat. Yeah, two fighters who have no interest in entertaining. Yep, that's totally the way to go. And they're paying, Zuffa's paying millions of dollars for that. That's why they, in my opinion, that's why they should say no to Zuffa or to Shakur versus Haney. That's a terrible style matchup. Why do we want to see two guys involved in a fencing match that look like they're afraid to get hit and don't want to engage? They don't want to stand in the pocket and trade and prove that they're the tougher man. They both subscribe to the art of hit and not get hit. Doesn't make for a compelling, dramatic fight. Say no, Zuffa. Say no, Dana. Say no to Shakur versus Haney. I'll tell you what, let's shift gears, guys. Now, I don't remember who posted it. I think it was Bam Bam, right? He stated, hey, let's talk about a matchup that is good. Let's talk about Ryan Garcia versus Conor Benn being made official for September 12th at the T-Mobile Arena. Oh, hold on real quick. Bam Bam says this. Joe, question, why didn't Golden Boy sign Ernesto Mercado when he was recently a free agent? The type of fighter you're talking about, he fights in the pocket, has serious power, and will fight anyone. You're going to have to ask Eric Gomez. You're going to have to ask him. Like, honestly, either they don't see his potential in selling tickets, because let's face it, guys, this business, it's not about pugilism. It's about putting asses in seats, just like the music industry. Look at the music industry. And the reason why I show parallels with that is because boxing, unlike the other sports, is designed the exact same way. It's run the exact same way, where it's based on selling tickets, selling product. The other sports, like look at basketball, look at baseball, look at football. If you have a specific athlete, if you put up career numbers in one season, yeah, you're going to be able to renegotiate your contract and attract huge dollars. And the product pays for itself. The league handles that, right? Because it's a product that delivers consistently. But in boxing, as in music, it's all about the individual, right? It's all about the individual. And if you can't sell tickets, like I could be the greatest singer in America, but if I can't sell tickets or fill out a venue that holds 15 to 20,000 people on a regular basis, then where do I think the money is going to come from? You could be the best, most talented fighter in boxing, but if you can't sell tickets, where's the money supposed to come from? Because music and boxing, they're run the exact same way. And that's what most fighters don't understand. They think, oh, I'm the best right now. Oh, I deserve that money. Well, can you sell tickets? Can you draw ratings? And if you say no, well, then where's the money supposed to come from? That's it. Guys, let's move on. Let's go to Garcia versus Ben. Honestly, Oscar was talking about in his clapback before it was made official for Vegas, the T-Mobile Arena, September 12th, Mexican Independence Weekend. Oscar was saying, no, I would go with the Haney fight. That's much bigger. Well, if you knock out Conor Ben, how much bigger do you think the Haney fight's going to be? This is what he's wanted the entire, and we called it, guys. We told you that he was going to defend against his mandatory opponent for the WBC, his mandatory challenger, and that was Conor Ben. So we told you guys before the Mario Barrios fight that the plan was to fight Mario Barrios and defend your title against Conor Ben. And if you do that, and if Ryan Garcia is successful in doing both of those things, no one is going to remember the Haney debacle, the testing positive for Osterine. No one's going to remember any of that shit. No one's going to remember the laying an egg on the big stage in Times Square against Rolly Romero. No one's going to remember that, any of that crap. But here's the problem. Eric Gomez, welcome to the show, sir. Good to see you, man. And he says a true statement. Ryan versus Ben should be in the UK. That's the problem. That's the problem. That's the problem. Like, think about this. Ryan versus Ben. Is it any bigger than Barrios fight in Vegas? No, it's not. No one gives two shits about Ben in America, in the American market. But if you put this in Tottenham Hotspur, this is a massive event in a much healthier market. Guys, have you noticed that the overwhelming majority of the big time boxing events are not happening in America any longer? It's going to be on Paramount Plus as well as DAZN. They've worked out an agreement where it's going to be available on both platforms. But yes, it's infinitely bigger if it's on a bigger platform with a much larger outreach like Paramount Plus. And it's a matchup that should produce fireworks. It's the irresistible force against the immovable object. And I'm sorry, guys. I know there's a lot of fans that want Ryan Garcia to lose. But take it to the bank, guys. He's going to knock out Conor Ben. Yeah, they had to make an agreement because Zuffa also has a deal with Sky Sports. And they wanted it to be on Sky Sports. But unfortunately, Golden Boy and Ryan, they have an agreement with DAZN. And he has to fight on DAZN. So, yeah, that was the common ground. That was the agreement that they came to. So Paramount Plus can have all the rights in the American market, which they should, because DAZN doesn't have an outreach in the American market. And then in the UK, where they're doing well, DAZN is going to have rights. That's great. Bam Bam says, yeah, Ben looks bad at 147. Look, he beat Regis Prograis, but, you know, there are times where he looked like he struggled a bit. If Ryan Garcia has a healthy and normal camp where he gets quality sparring, He's going to whoop that ass, and he's going to look like a superstar against a style matchup that's tailor-made for him. And no, there's no word on the undercard yet. None. Guys, this is all for look. The only reason why Zuffa was interested in Ben versus Ryan Garcia initially is, one, because Ryan Garcia is a huge name in the American market, and two, they have a deal with Sky Sports in the UK. They wanted to put Conor Benn on Sky Sports. They couldn't do that, though. So they said, well, you know what? Screw it. We're already paying Conor Benn guaranteed money. So we're going to have to just pull the trigger on this fight, even though we want him on Sky Sports. So congratulations to DAZN, because Turki Al-Sheikh and Zuffa, they're footing the bill for this this undertaking. And it's going to be a terrific event. And but look, I'll be honest, this fight should be in England. This fight should be at Tottenham Hotspur in London. That's where it should be. And they would be able to put in 65,000, 70,000 fans. Oh, boy. Look, Bam Bam, I'll be honest, man. Oh, boy. Andy Ruiz, I'm glad he finally has come to his senses and wants to work now and doesn't mind being on the undercard of someone else is headlining a feature. But what? I don't know if he can still do it at this time. How did he look in his last fight against big baby Jarrell Miller? He was a 3-round fighter, and he looked great for 3 rounds. But then he stopped letting his hands go. Once again, just like Albert Bell a couple weeks ago. You can always tell when someone doesn't have a full camp, when they're questioning their conditioning, right? And you can always tell when a fighter is questioning his conditioning, when he doesn't throw any punches except for the beginning of a round or the end of a round. That's it. Yeah, Taker. Once again, it's common sense and common knowledge, but that doesn't seem very common these days now, does it? Thank you for being here, my brother. Andy Ruiz on Ozempic. Oh, Chingao. Look, man, too much is made about the weight of Andy Ruiz. He was a badass when he was fat. And he's got that hand speed. He's got those heavy hands. He's got that explosive power. He's got a great chin. He just needs to get his ass in shape. And that only happens with hard sparring and staying in the gym. Unfortunately, these heavyweights in America, they're a bunch of prima donnas, especially once again when they start making inflated purses. How much did you get paid for that rematch versus Anthony Joshua in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia? He made $15 million. That's what he's been living on since. Once again, when you pay out inflated purses that don't match your accurate market value, it takes away the hunger and drive from a fighter. He doesn't care about being active. He doesn't have to be. That's the problem. We haven't seen a hungry Andy Ruiz since the Anthony Joshua fight, in which he was a last-minute replacement for Jarrell Miller. Are we going to see it against Neba? I don't think so. You can say, oh, he's at Manny Robles now. Look, I'll tell you this. He's got a history of being a prima donna. And because heavyweights don't have to make weight, because they don't have to make weight, they don't care. It's like sometimes they'll show up at the gym, sometimes they won't. And I'm not single on Andy Ruiz. That's the way most heavyweights are. Look, this is why Emmanuel Stewart, he taught me this. And he said, you know what, even though I know how to motivate and I work with a lot of heavyweights, they're the worst fighters to work with because they don't have to make weight. And they're all prima donnas. They're part of the glamour division. And they think that their shit doesn't stink. Pardon my French. And that's Andy Ruiz right there. As soon as he made that big money, what's he done in boxing since then? What has he done? What has he done since then? Fought Luis Ortiz in a great fight. And what else? Fought Jarrell Miller. What else? Tell you what, guys, let's focus right now on the last part of the show. Let's focus our eyes on next weekend's events. Look, and before we do that, we have to encourage everyone to watch the Matchroom Sports Show in Carson, California. Pacheco versus Aleem. Should be a great event. A lot of good prospects, including my brother G Funky's fighter, Frank Knuckles Espinoza, who's 7-0. I think he's 7-0. Or maybe he's 4-0 with 4 knockouts. I don't know. But he's a good-looking kid, smart, great ambassador for the business. And he's a wise investment for Matchroom Sport in America. So, guys, let's talk about next week, though. So, guys, tune into that. Tune into that tomorrow, right? But let's hold on. I need to take a beta test real quick, guys. So let's put on a quick prayer promoting my channel, God's Perfect Love, my ministry. And let's see. Do I still have one? Hold on. Let me see. Okay, let's do this one. Let's do one on Romans 8:31. I'll be back in a minute.
If you're facing a tough time, you need to hear this incredible message from Romans 8:31. If God is for us, who can be against us? Think about that. No matter what challenges you're facing, no matter how big your problems seem, remember this: you're not alone. With God on your side, you have a strength that moves mountains, a love that never fails, and a purpose that can't be shaken. So when life gets tough, hold on to this truth. If God is for us, who can be against us? Feel the reassurance, embrace the power, and let your faith be your guide. Remember, you are more than a conqueror. Stay blessed, stay hopeful, and keep moving forward.
Okay, guys, once again, if you haven't already subscribed to my channel, God's Perfect Love, which now has over 46,000 subscribers, thanks be to God. Guys, please join me on my spiritual journey and become closer to our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, the Lamb of God who takes away the sins of the world. God bless all of you guys. That's God's Perfect Love Ministry. But look, let's move on to this week, guys. We have a lot to discuss, and we're running out of time. And Bam, you've got the beat, brother. God bless you, man. Jesus Christ is the King of Kings, the Prince of Peace. Yes, God is King, Eric. God bless you guys. God bless all of you guys. We'll see. We'll see. Look, the problem with Pacheco, right? What is his big chink in the armor? He depends on guys coming right at him, right? He's a counterpuncher by trade, just like Teofimo Lopez, and not nearly as athletically gifted as Teofimo Lopez. He depends solely on guys forcing the action and him responding. So if Aleem doesn't want to be assertive, it's going to be a stinker of a fight, right? That's it, guys. That's it. And so, Buddy McGirt, can he add that new wrinkle to Diego Pacheco? Now, think about when he was fighting, because Buddy McGirt was a badass. Was he an effective aggressor? He's an old school badass, but can he teach the fine art of cutting off the ring, then closing the distance behind an intelligent jab and the high guard so you don't take too much incoming when trying to close the distance? If that's not easy, and that's not something that you can learn with one camp. So I love James Buddy McGirt. He's a dear friend of mine. Awesome dude. And he is one of the smartest guys in boxing. He's a great trainer. I love James. But we'll see if he's compatible with Diego Pacheco. Eric, you need to explain that one. Team Benavidez ruined Pacheco's career. I don't even understand that. Are you talking about by making him a counterpuncher? Is that what you're talking about? Because Benavidez has no problem being assertive. It's the mindset, guys. It's the mindset. And it's about getting that work in the gym. Right? Look at how impressive what is his name? His name eludes me. What is the kid who's now the WBA champ at 168? What was his name? The Mexican fighter who got knocked out by the French guy? Anyway, hold on. Team Benavidez had a big percentage cut on his fights. And what was he making? It doesn't even matter because he wasn't making shit. That's a non-point. That's a non-factor, guys. Diego Pacheco's not exactly breaking the bank with every fight. Oh yeah, Jaime Munguia. Look at the results of him working with Team Reynoso. Right? He looked like a super fighter. He looked like a complete badass against a very good and strong Resendez. He made Resendez look like an amateur fighter. And he fought him at every range, using lateral movement, boxing him well, throwing the better combinations in the pocket, using his footwork as the foundation of his defense. It was impressive, guys. Anyway, I'm not going to cast aspersions on this show tonight. But that's what I'm saying. Can Buddy McGirt do that for Pacheco? You're talking about Jaime Munguia, who started his career at 47. Resendez didn't look too small against Caleb Plant. Come on now. Let's be fair. Well, look, Eric, I'm glad you said it so I don't have to. But yes, I agree. He's on that shit. Oh, we won't even go into that in this. Guys, let's start talking about next weekend. Guys, I feel bad for Jamal Charlo. But what do we say? We reap what we sow, right? You can't expect to have those felonies and be welcome in other countries and be able to work. You cannot have that kind of criminal record. You cannot have that kind of drama in your life and expect it to yield good fruit. I feel gutted for Coach Ronnie and Jamal, but hey, that's what you give is what you get. And unfortunately, Australia has a more stringent immigration policy than America does at this time. If you have a criminal record, then yeah, you good luck getting in Australia. Guys, once again, why do you think Bill Haney, and we knew this was going to happen, guys. I said this on James, the boxing source, his show earlier this week. I said, dude, he's not going to be allowed in Australia. This fight's not going to happen. I said that on Wednesday. But this is what you get. This is what you get, guys. This is one of the reasons why Bill Haney wasn't allowed to be chief second for Devin Haney's fights against George Kambosos. Remember, Yoel Judah was the chief second when Haney fought and they didn't want to allow him in the country? Do you remember that? It is what it is, brother, and it's public record. So I feel gutted for Jamal because I know he worked his ass off in this camp. He really wants to make a comeback. Bam Bam, thank you for saying that, brother. In my opinion, though, I would rather that Zuffa gave me a call and hired me to do some advising and to do some strategy, game planning, and PR work. I would rather Zuffa gave me a call. I would tell them to stop throwing away millions into an already bad product. And look, this is my plan, guys, for Zuffa. And I'm not going to talk too much about the inner workings, right, guys? But honestly, if I'm going to sit down with Dana White and with Tom Loeffler and all of those guys at Zuffa, I'm going to say, look, the best thing you can do is focus on the future. Focus on the future, not the product that we have now. You're going to have to build a better product than what we're getting now, which is inflated purses and lack of interest from the mainstream and casual fans. And paying out inflated purses, that is not the answer. What they need to do is build you know how they have the UFC compound in Vegas, where they have a gym, a cafeteria, workout facility. It's amazing. And an arena there. They need to put that in every major metropolitan area since they have the money, rather than throwing away millions into Shakur Stevenson or anyone else, including Devin Haney or Edgar Berlanga or Richardson Hitchens. They need to build a major compound, or a Zuffa compound, a Zuffa gym in every major metropolitan area, and start cultivating the local attractions. Make them ticket sellers in the local markets and build them that way. Make a Zuffa Chicago, make a Zuffa Atlanta, make a Zuffa Washington, D.C., make a Zuffa DFW, make a Zuffa San Antonio, make a Zuffa L.A. And I'll tell you what, they would be able to corner and attract all of the upcoming badasses and top amateurs in the business in the country today. That's what they should do, rather than investing millions on a guy who's never going to capture the imagination of the mainstream and casual market. If they announce Hyman versus Maul soon, just know you heard it. Look, brother. Hyman Munguia, who is he working with now? Who's he working with now? What promoter is he working with? Look, man, if I'm Jamal, I want to get in at least 2 more fights. As good as Jaime Munguia looked, right? Oh, wait a minute. So he's just signed with Sella and DAZN? No, he's on PBC now, isn't he? Hey, there's my brother, James from the Boxing Source. Hey, man, I know it's late. I know it's almost 2:00 where you are. But if you're down for speaking for about 10 minutes, come on the show. Click the link, James. I'll roll out the red carpet for you, man. Look, yeah, Jaime Munguia, he was featured on the last PBC card. I know that. But I don't know if he's fighting on PBC. I know that he was the opponent for Resendez, and Resendez is signed with PBC. Now, if they're smart, which, Tom Brown is smart. He's a boxing guy through and through and a future Hall of Famer. Then they probably said, hey, you can have this fight against Resendez, but we're going to have options on your next 3 fights. If that's the case, then yes, you're right, Boxing Source. You're right, James. That PBC does have options on the next 3 fights. With that said, if I'm Jamal, and as good as Jaime Munguia looked, I want at least 2 tune-ups or active fights before I take on a title holder who looked really good in his last fight in Jaime Munguia. Once again, guys, let's make no mistake. Jaime Munguia, let's see. He looked extraordinary in his last fight against Resendez. Once again, styles make fights, and there are levels to this. But still, have you ever seen Jaime Munguia look that good? And have that kind of footwork, have that kind of intelligent jab, have that kind of defense? He's on that shit, guys. Guys, it's my pleasure to welcome to the stage right now the incomparable James Bell from the Boxing Source. James, how are you, brother?
Yeah, what's going on? Yeah, I got a few minutes.
Good. We're going to shift gears and talk about this weekend. Your thoughts on Errol Spence's comeback against Timmy Zhu, now trained by the Australian legend, Hall of Famer Jeff Fennick.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting there. You're going to have 2 fighters with 2 new trainers, going into a fight that will have a lot of sex behind it. So it's going to, make for a good fight. My thing is I'm concerned about Tim Zhu as far as like his past couple of fights, how his punch resistance is, especially with him, having those cuts that stem from his first bout against Sebastian Fundora. So he hasn't really kind of shaken off that, instinct of sorts to, getting hit in the face and, expecting something to happen where he'll see blood or something like that. So he got to shake that off here if he wants to, get past this fight against Errol Spence Jr.
Yeah, what are your thoughts on Errol Spence Jr. spilling the beans on his horrific camp with Derek James leading up to Terrence Crawford?
I mean, it's like just a detail that really, at least for me, it wouldn't have mattered much.
Well, look, like at least it now explains why he stiffed or tried to stiff Derek James and why Derek James sued him.
Yeah.
You remember that?
Yep. Because
like Errol Spence, and if you haven't heard the interview, I'm going to recap it for you real quick. He said, no, man, it was a terrible camp. Worst we've ever had. where I didn't even spar. I was just working mitts. I was just trying to make 147. We didn't even work on strategy. It was horrific. And I'm sorry, that didn't do anything to prepare me. We had no southpaw sparring. It's like he was managing the camp and he did nothing to prepare me for Terrence Crawford. Now, obviously, he didn't say it that eloquently, but that's it in a nutshell. And is he justified in saying that? And do you think he should have said that?
I don't know if he should have said it. As far as like being justified, that is like up in the air because you kind of like seen Derek James in the past couple of years, not be or not fail too well in some big fights. So I don't know like what his overall preparation, is as far as like, with his fighters, but we just have to see later on down the line. If I'm not mistaken, I think he still has Frank Martin though.
Is Derek James still? Well, look. If you notice, guys, that's what makes Eddie Reynoso, Freddie Roach, Ronnie Shields, Robert Garcia in a league of their own, right? Those are super trainers, right? Those are super trainers because they can handle the work. They understand, right? They can manage those big client lists. Derek James obviously couldn't. He was a very good trainer and a very effective trainer until his gym became crowded.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't know how to handle it.
Yep.
That's why everyone dropped him like a bad habit.
Yep. I mean, he had Spence, he had Charlos, he had multiple fighters under his.
He had
under
Anthony
his
Joshua at one time.
Yeah, he did. He had Anthony Joshua at one
He had
point.
Ryan Garcia.
Yep. So.
And everyone dropped him, and I'm assuming it's for the same reason. He couldn't manage that kind of workload.
Yeah.
And so everything that we've seen from Derek James from that point forward, it lends credence to everything that Errol Spence is saying. So I believe him 100%. Now, should he have said that publicly? Maybe not, but, it makes you then wonder going into this fight, wow, does Errol Spence really have something now at 160? Does he still have something left? Was it a lack of preparation? Was he just a dead man walking at 147? Could we see a revitalized revitalized Errol Spence Jr. against a, compromised Timmy Zoo in front of his hometown crowd?
Oh, we're definitely going to see here, come next Saturday.
Guys, that makes it worth the price of the pay-per-view. I can't wait to see it. And I am gutted for Coach Ronnie and Jamal. Like honestly, they worked really hard in this camp. Jamal really wants a comeback. But I'm telling you right now, he's not going to jump into a fight with Jaime Munguia. He wants at least one or two more fights before that.
Yep.
But I'll tell you what, that's a great fight.
It's a great fight, but that's not going to happen. I think, Jaime is going to be, either on for, what did they say, the October? They might have something for like a pay-per-view in November, and he could be part of that.
Here to there says, cheers, Joseph. Good to see you, my friend. And I'm sorry for, Argentina. Yeah, I'm sorry for that, brother. I bet Al and Derek James knew they couldn't risk having Errol spar. Now, yeah. Look, this is the problem with fighters these days, right? Like, what is there any substitute for hard sparring?
None.
In preparation for a prize fight?
None.
That's like
none. That's like the best preparation. That's like, scrimmage. That's like scrimmage in football. You want to go to the plays.
That's it. And it's not just physical. It's mental preparation. Like if you haven't faced a southpaw in sparring, how do you expect to deal with one who's one of the best in the business on fight night? You've already lost. Because James, you know as well as I do, you fight like you train.
Yep.
You fight like you train. Look at who's the badass that Robert Garcia has and is the current IBF champ. What's his name? At 35.
Oh, Ray Murtaya.
Yep, Raymond Murataya. Look at the preparation they did for Andy Cruz. He understood, hey man, I'm not, that isn't my forte. I'm a counterpuncher by trade. I'm not used to being assertive and taking the lead. I'm not used to cutting off the ring and closing the distance. But I tell you what, being around those badasses in the Robert Garcia gym and having that one-on-one tutelage against a former lightweight champion, or with a former lightweight champion in Robert Garcia, whose forte was cutting off the ring and closing the distance. Yeah, you saw what it yielded. That only happens in the gym, guys. And once again, that's the allure in training with someone like Ronnie Shields or training with someone like Robert Garcia. A guy with a packed gym, you're not only getting an education in the one-on-one tutelage with the head trainer, but you're going to get that education by brotherhood. Iron sharpens iron in the gym. Yep. That's the allure. And once again, that's why I think the trainer of the year honors at the end of the year is always very overrated, because look, it's the gym. It's the gym, guys. Like during like the last decade, Wildcard Gym was the place to be. And you had subordinate trainers like Joseph Brown. Badasses in that gym, man. And you were learning from everyone. And the brotherhood in the gym, they all wanted to help you succeed. That's it. And that's why Errol Spence is currently training with our brother Ronnie Shields, because he's got that camaraderie and that action in the ring or in the gym. And it's going to serve him well, I think. Is it going to be on Saturday or Sunday?
It'll be Saturday over here.
Okay. Look, I'll be honest, brother, and you saw the media workout as well as I did. Errol Spence Jr. Now, once again, all of his excuses for getting his ass whooped against Terrence Crawford are plausible. But your eyes don't deceive you, do they, James? What did you see in that media workout? I know he's just working pads, but he looks slow at this stage of his career. I know this is his comeback, and I know he's going to be fighting Timmy Zhu. Thank God. Thank God he's not going to be fighting a badass like Katsarakas, right? Or like Sebastian Fundora or Virgil Ortiz. Because those guys would have their way with Errol Spence Jr. at this juncture of his career. But even against Timmy Zhu in front of his home crowd, man, it's going to be a tough fight, guys, and it's going to be a great one for the fans. So I advise all of you guys to purchase it. Tune in, guys. James, was it just me, or did Errol Spence look really slow at that media workout?
Yeah, it looked like, some of the stuff he went through, the motions and things like that, where you would think that he would have most of that stuff kind of like down to where you would see a little bit of quickness, a little bit of snapping the punches, faster responses to, some of the drills and things like that. So, hopefully he gets like in a gear here come next week, because if he ends up losing, that's it. That's one and done, basically.
Yeah, guys, and just like Ronnie said in several interviews last and this week in front of the press, he said, well, he's at 160. Does it even matter? It's not for a title. His comeback, he's not coming back for a title. He wants to be in the best fights, and he wants to take it one step at a time. Now, we're going to see where we go from this performance, but we're taking it one step at a time. We're not looking forward. We're not looking past Tim Tszyu. And we're going to see where we are after this Tim Tszyu performance. And in my opinion, guys, both guys are vulnerable. Both guys are damaged goods. And I think both guys are maybe at equal sledding. If I had to bet money, I would say that Errol Spence Jr., under the tutelage of Ronnie Shields, is going to have a little bit more than Timmy Tszyu, which, in my opinion, still has the mindset of being more tentative than he used to be before the Sebastian Fundora fight. Right?
Yeah.
We've seen him since then. He's been very tentative, especially after that Murtazalia ass whooping. He's been very tentative. He's afraid to let his hands go now. And in my opinion, Errol Spence Jr. is going to collapse the pocket, fight him in the pocket, and having the deeper amateur pedigree and just the overall knowledge of throwing the better combination. Let's be honest, guys. In his prime, Errol Spence Jr., can you think of any other better inside fighters in boxing today than Errol Spence Jr. in his prime? The only one I can think of is Canelo Alvarez. James, what say you?
Yeah, I think it would be Canelo, and that would pretty much be it.
So, guys, once again, I think Errol Spence Jr., if he still has any fight left in him, it's going to be a war, guys. Either way, and it's going to be a great, entertaining fight for the fans. But I think Errol Spence is going to take this, to the dismay of the Australian fans. Here to there says, agreed, Joseph. Hate to say it, but Errol looked like a 36-year-old who has lived a hard life in that short workout clip. Yeah. Look, worst case scenario, guys, he's going to have a Joe Joyce moment this weekend. I hate to say it, but you may see Errol have because he looked that slow. Oh man, poor Joe Joyce. He needs to retire. Was he 40 now?
Yep.
Oh geez. What else do we have on the agenda this weekend, or next weekend, I should say? It's going to be the return of Anthony Joshua against Christian Prenga. James, you know how I feel about this matchup already. What say you? Please make me feel better about this.
My thing is going to be for Joshua. It's kind of what would be the matchup that he had. You talk about when he was with Derek James, right? That
Against
fight he had when Derek James was in his corner.
He fought Jermaine Franklin.
Oh, not Jermaine Franklin. I'm not thinking Jermaine Franklin. I'm thinking of someone else that he fought. Who's the tall other guy? Johan Dohapas. I think it was Johan. Was it Johan?
No. I think you're talking about the guy from the Nordic Nightmare.
Yeah, the Nordic Nightmare. Yeah. That's what I'm thinking about. That it could be, similar to that situation where, like, Joshua would have a slow start.
And correct me if I'm wrong, not only did the Nordic Nightmare test positive in that Robert Elenius, he tested positive after that fight, and it was also a last-minute replacement for a positive testing Dillian White, right?
Hold on, what was that last part? Like, kind of cut off.
He was a last-minute replacement for Dillian White, wasn't
he? Yeah, I think so.
Who got hurt or tested positive or something.
Yeah, tested positive. It was. Yeah, Robert Helenius, yeah.
And look, let's be honest. Robert Helenius gave him some problems. Anthony Joshua didn't look great until the knockout.
Yeah.
Now, are we going to see something similar? Is that what you're saying?
We could.
But look, man, I'll be honest, man. Robert Hellenius already had the mindset of an opponent going into that fight, getting demolished by Deontay Wilder in 1 round. Christian Prenga, not so much. Now, is he just going to be happy to be making a huge payday and being a part of this event? We'll see. I'm hoping that that's the case. But if this guy is looking at this opportunity as, hey, you know, this is my only shot for the brass ring, and I need to go all out, and I need to make an example and study that Dubois fight. If he's done that during this camp, yeah, man, I don't have a good feeling about this for Anthony Joshua. I think it's a terrible mistake taking on someone who's 20-1 with 20 knockouts. Heavy hands, big, strong, same dimensions, just as tall, same arm length. And he's young and hungry. I don't know about this. There's a reason, like
I don't know about young. I mean, he might be hungry, but it's pretty much like the same age.
Is he really? I know the other Albanian is older than Joshua. But is this guy the same age as Anthony Joshua?
Yeah, right. Yeah. Well, just a year younger, 35.
Okay. Well, look, he's hungry nonetheless.
Yeah.
He's been on club shows waiting for this opportunity, being viewed as more risk than reward from everyone in boxing for a reason. And Anthony Joshua chooses to pick on him as a perfunctory opponent. Not too bright, in my opinion. Maybe I'm wrong. I hope that I am, because ultimately we all want to see Anthony Joshua versus Tyson Fury. James, in your opinion, if he comes up a cropper against Christian Prenga, does this ruin the Tyson Fury fight?
I would definitely put a damper on it. The concern I would have is, going up against Christian Prenga is that Prenga, has kind of been, active of sorts, over the past, I would say the past, 7 months. So he's had a couple of fights already as a heavyweight. So you wouldn't want that, especially if you had what you had against Jake Paul and then, going through what you went through. So that's going to be the main concern, is how are you going to react to, big shots and stuff like that, regardless of, what camp you've had. It's completely different than, being, in the ring and actually, having that work in the ring. So, and for me, it's also, still at the end of the day, it's Anthony Joshua. And, when you're a fighter that has the attention that he gets, you have these, these media appearances, you have these interviews, you have these endorsements, commercials, all that type of stuff, where you have a really, really busy schedule to fit in while, training. So I think that's, also plays a factor into this.
Well, look, let me spill the beans, guys. And if truth be known, right? And I'm going to give you the insight on this. The only reason why Anthony Joshua and Eddie Hearn are going through with this, because the Tyson Fury fight is already paid for by Netflix. He fought against Jake Paul on Netflix. Unfortunately for Anthony Joshua, he still has an obligation to DAZN. He has 2 fights left on his contract with DAZN. And they're like, no. I know you, but hey, you owe us a fight. Have a tune-up, and yeah, we'll air it, and we'll give you proper billing. We'll make it a pay-per-view, and but you owe us 2 fights, guys. That's the only reason why this is happening. And honestly, I don't like it one bit. I don't like it. Look, there's a reason why Tyson Fury is fighting Mary Swak in Thailand instead of Nelson Husa. Nelson Husa from Albania. Like Queensberry originally suggested that guy because he's under Queensberry contract. And Tyson Fury said, hell no. Why would I want to take on a big punching undefeated badass like that if I've got a bigger money fight waiting for me in Anthony Joshua? No, thank you. He's smart. And he's getting all the criticism. I'll tell you what, he's going to look like a genius if Anthony Joshua doesn't fulfill his end of the bargain. In my opinion, guys, yeah, and I tell you what, my brother Thomas, he's going to fly out to, on Sunday, he's going to fly out to Jeddah. He's going to be doing the ring announcing for this event. And yeah, he's really, really looking forward to this. And this is going to be a great event. Even though it's if you look at the card, if you look at the box rec, it's a night of mismatches.
Yep.
Look at the guy that Hamza Shiraz is fighting. Look at the guy that Josh Kelly is fighting.
It's not worse than Alan Bezic, though, is it? I would say it's.
Well, yeah.
Well, the thing is, right? The guy that he's fighting, I think, is Simon Zackenhuber. And the thing was, like, Zackenhuber was an undefeated contender until, he lost in I guess the April fight card that was out there in Tottenham. But the wild part is that the guy that he lost to is on the same card.
Yeah, there it is. Once again, guys, this is a night of perfunctory opponents. But I have a feeling we're going to see one upset.
Well,
and it's not going to be Hamza Shiraz.
No.
It might be Josh Kelly.
Yeah, that one.
It might be Anthony Joshua.
That Josh Kelly Igarko one, that's the one to watch for.
That's what I'm saying. This is billed as a night of mismatches, but I don't think it's going to play out that way.
Because the thing is like, Kelly, they said, oh, he's locked in, signed to fight Jerome Boots Ennis, but yeah, you got this fight here with Kyle and Igarko, and that you can't necessarily sleepwalk through that fight.
No, you can't. At this level, guys, you can't walk through any fight. You've got to train for the toughest fight of your career.
Hey, I mean, Josh Kelly went through that same thing at welterweight, sometime back. So
against
that's how he ended up
losing.
Avanesian. So, yeah.
Oh, guys, look, this is going to be a great weekend. Great weekend of boxing. Oh, wait a minute. Aren't we forgetting an event coming up next weekend? One that hasn't even sold tickets in a venue that holds only about 5,000.
Oh, man.
Dude, why have they invested? And we're coming full circle, guys, because we started talking about this. Zuffa, why are they throwing so much money at guys who can't sell tickets even in their home area in Richardson Hitchens and Edgar Berlanga?
Didn't any of those representatives in Zuffa or TKO pay attention last year when Edgar Berlanga headlined against Hamza Shiraz at the Louis Armstrong Stadium in Queens, New York? That didn't give them a clue.
Oh boy. Honestly, I'm not sure I know what their end game is now, because everything he criticized about the current business of boxing, he is doing that and more. Like, he makes Al Heyman right now look like a prince in terms of paying out inflated purses.
Mm-hmm.
Like, dude, he's got nothing on Al Heyman. Like, dude, that's Like, honestly, dude, dude, look at how much he's paying Shakur Stevenson. Connor
Hey,
Ben.
Connor Ben.
Like, think about this. And this is why I titled my show, Zuffa Should Say No to Shakur versus Haney. Think about this. How much money would it cost to produce that fight?
At minimum $30 million.
Is it worth it? That style
No,
matchup?
no. That's not wait a minute. So you mean to tell me that Shakur and Devin Haney would potentially have a total purse that would be higher than Crawford and Spence got in 2023 for the undisputed welterweight championship?
Hey, brother, that's what I'm saying. It's part of the problem in why we're in this situation in the American market for boxing. You're talking about non-attractions expecting life-changing money.
All right, right. So,
Bro,
and
hold on.
get this right.
Refugio says, bro paid Johnny Fisher 3 times what Eddie Hearn was paying him.
Oh my
Exactly.
God.
Why is he doing that?
Oh
Johnny,
my God.
look, I'll be honest, and I don't say this about anyone, but Johnny Fisher sucks, dude. Dude, dude, you have to call out you have to call a spade a spade.
Yeah, I get you. I get you. Yeah, that whole thing with potentially with Shakur and Haney, that like I would not put that much money towards those two fighters. And you know what gets me right now is I don't think a number of fans are aware of this, right? Right now you got Devin Haney as the WBO welterweight champion, right?
Ugh.
Okay. The World Boxing Organization ordered Devin Haney to fight Keyshawn Davis. That was back in what, June 28th, around June 28th or something like that. Okay. They gave them a 20-day negotiation period. That negotiation period ends on Monday. But
Mm-hmm.
if you look at it, it's like you see the two representatives that are out there. It's, well, as they say, Team Haney and Top Rank. So you mean to tell me that Devin Haney, who is a WBO welterweight champion, who has been a multi-division champion, who is regarded by a lot of publications as a top 10 pound for pound fighter, can't lock down a fight against Keyshawn Davis because no one looks like they're interested in hosting the fight? Oh, but I thought
Well,
the HP was a promotional company that could put up money. Oh, wait, that's right. They couldn't do that. Trying to get a fight with Rolly Romero. Oh, my bad.
yeah. Look, very, very, very good points, James. And look, I'll be honest, man. I'm more interested in seeing Devin Haney fight Keyshawn Davis. Like, honestly, dude, honestly, here's the problem, though. They think they have leverage on Zuffa because who else is Shakur going to fight in and around that division that's going to attract those kind of eyeballs?
Nobody.
Exactly. So, Bill Haney, he's going to try to use that as leverage. And if he thinks he has leverage, man, from everything that everyone's told me, he is a complete pain in the ass to work with.
Yeah. Now.
And he's going to demand the maximum amount of dollars because he thinks he has you over a barrel.
That's not going to work. No.
Not going to work. And if I'm Dana White, I'm telling him, hey, get to stepping. Hey, good luck with Keyshawn Davis, brother.
Oh, well, I don't even know about that because I said this yesterday when I talked about this potential matchup, but I brought up the whole thing with the WBO order. Let's say it goes through that 20 days and let's say they don't have an extension and it goes to purse bid. Mm-hmm. This could end up being a similar situation like when Devin Haney was ordered to defend the WBC super lightweight title against Sandor Martin. And that was ordered. There was a negotiation period. It lapsed. There was a purse bid. The purse bid was put in place. And at that time, the winning bid would have had Devin Haney being paid at minimum $1.3 million. This is after he had the fight against Ryan Garcia. So you're thinking that Devin Haney was going to be fighting Ascendo Martin for $1.3 million? Nope. That's why he ended up giving up the belt and moving up to fight Jose Ramirez. So you might end up with the same situation here with Keyshawn Davis. How much money is going to be put up for that fight? If it's not going to be anywhere near what they're looking for, and we know that they're not going to, put up no money. So
once again, proving why, showing another example as to why paying out inflated purses doesn't work for the health of the sport, for the health of the business. It's a detriment, guys. Yeah. It gives fighters a false sense of market value. They, like Caleb Plant after that Canelo fight, how much did he think he was worth?
What about like a minimum $4 or $5 million?
Yep, because he got paid $10 million to fight Canelo.
Yeah.
And he thought he was one of the biggest stars of the sport as a result. Now, did his market value reflect that? Could he attract that many eyeballs to his performances after that? No. So all of this bullshit about, hey, you're worth whatever a promoter wants to pay you, that's garbage, because the fans are the real bosses of this business. And it's their demand that determines your paycheck. And it's always going to be that way, guys. It's always going to be that way. So fighters need to get on the stick and quit holding this damn business hostage. And Zuffa, if they really want to make an impact on this business, they need to stand their ground and say, you know what? You're not going to hold us hostage. We couldn't care less. If you're demanding more than you're worth, then you know what? Go get what you're worth somewhere else. Because we're not going to play that game. We don't need you. They would be wise in adopting that ideology, but for some reason, DAZN, like Dana White, he talked a good game leading up to this point, but as soon as he got into the fraternity of boxing, like it's almost like he took out his brain and set it to the side. Like, why is he doing what he's doing right now? What is the end game? Does it make any sense to you?
No, not really.
None at all. The only thing that makes it make sense is that he doesn't know shit about the boxing business. He doesn't know shit about the boxing business. It was very easy when you had a monopoly on MMA. And they didn't have anywhere else to go.
Yep.
But hey, now in order to attract these, oh gosh, man, quasi big attractions, he's paying them on, and look, on some accounts like Shakur Stevenson, he's paying him like 4 or 5 times what he's worth.
Yeah, like, it's pretty much 5 times. Yeah, it's 5 times. If you think about, what Shakur was making, what I would say a couple of years ago, like coming off of his fight against Hartunyan. Yeah. So yeah, if you reflect back from that, then yeah, that's about 5 times, what he was paid then. So.
Dude, that's absurd. That's absurd. Why would you pay Shakur? And once again, dude, if he actually, dude, whoever's negotiating for Shakur is a genius. I'll say that.
Maybe it's Antonio Leonard. Maybe it's, I don't know if it's Jay Prince or Antonio Leonard or whoever.
Dude, whomever it is a genius, and they stuck to the MSG card which was sold out against Teofimo Lopez in that performance.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they negotiated on. I guess proving the point that you're only as good as your last fight, right?
Yep.
So, hey, how come we didn't spend a lot of time on Berlanga and Hitchens, James?
Yeah, I'm
Because
not
that
too
card
looking.
sucks ass. No one
Well, I
cared.
mean, it's not getting that much buzz, and I was trying to get in contact with one of the fighters on that card, but I don't know, maybe I could try again later, later on or something. But yeah, it's not getting much buzz at all.
You might as well have just had that fight at the Apex in Las Vegas.
Yeah, yeah.
Because, dude, it has no traction in. And think about this, guys. Both fighters from New York, and they can't sell out a venue that only holds about 5,000.
Let me check
Now
on
you
the thing with
brought up the dot counter, right?
Yeah, that was for like another fight. Yeah, but yeah, for this one, that's pretty bad.
That's really
And
bad.
and the thing is like, jeez, I forgot Richardson Hitchens ain't have a fight since last year, and that was in the
Yep,
same venue.
that's right. He backed out of the Duarte fight.
You're right. Yep.
And that's another thing. He was talking a good game in the press conference and the build-up and during fight week. And then all of a sudden he gets sick. And he has to back out of the fight against Oscar Duarte. James, you've been around the fight game for a minute. Do you think he was really getting sick the entire night? Because he fulfilled the weigh-in the next day for the IBF.
He fulfilled the weigh-in for the next day. But it looked like, I don't know, somebody said like he had a minor issue, and then word got out to the wrong people or whatever it is. But
Yeah, well,
something tells me that this was
look.
I can't
And
say
Oscar
it.
De La Hoya and Robert Garcia, they insist, oh, he was just afraid. He was afraid of the style matchup. He was afraid that, no, dude. Here's the reality, guys. And this is a lesson to any young fighters about the business of boxing. There is no fighter that goes, if they've had a proper training camp, that goes into a major fight without some kind of lingering ailment or injury. If you don't have a lingering ailment or injury, that means you didn't get the most of your camp. That's the reality, guys. That's 100% of the business of boxing. The mistake that he made, from what I was told, he made the sad mistake of telling the inspector and the supervising officer of the IBF, who was Levi Martinez. He told him that he was throwing up. When you tell somebody for liability purposes, they're going to scratch you every time. Shut your mouth, suck it up, and go through with the fight, or else you're not going to get paid. Suck it up. We know fighters who had food poisoning and who threw up in the corner, right?
Mm-hmm.
Katsourakis, Andreas Katz, he threw up in the middle of a fight. He sucked it up and he won the fight anyway. Memo to Richardson Hitchens. Shut your mouth and understand that this is a part of boxing. Making weight and dealing with ailments. Make that payday. Make the fight. Because now you look like a big fat panocha. and no one's interested any longer. Do you know anyone who's talking about Richards and Hitchens in the next fight?
No, not
None.
seeing it in
Zero.
social media, not in the chats, nothing.
Nothing. Nothing. So with that said, boys and girls, we're going to close the episode on that because it's already 2:35 where you are, man. And I'll
Yeah.
say this. I'll ask you this: who do you think Shakur fights under Zuffa next? And hold on. Last thing, let's shift gears. Usyk just came out and said he's interested in fighting and getting the heavyweight belt, Zuffa belt, to end his career. What do you think about that?
How much money are they paying him? That's what I'm thinking about it.
That's it. You get it.
How much
Guys,
money are they
my
paying?
brother James right there, man, from the Boxing Source.
You know,
So I tell you what, let's end it on that. And once again, who do you think Shakur ends up fighting?
Raul Valenzuela, man. I mean, it's like everybody. I mean,
There it is.
the more that they talk about a fight that's potentially happening, that means it's not going to happen. So just pay attention to who they're not talking about.
Oh boy, look, Ryo made a big hit. He's got a lot of momentum under Zuffa. He got his comeuppance against. He exacted his revenge against Edwin De Los Santos, a weight drained Edwin De Los Santos, and an inactive Edwin De Los Santos. That's how important activity is, guys. But Ryo, why not make the fight? Why not make the fight? Who cares? You're gonna get that guaranteed paycheck anyway, Shakur.
Right, 15 million is 15 million.
And look, it's gonna be that's a much better style matchup for the fans. And let's be honest, and Dana White needs reminding that the fans are the real bosses of boxing. Always will be, always have been. There it is. So yeah, we didn't even mention Tyson Fury versus Mary Swak in Thailand.
Yeah, I don't think we need to.
Guys, that's James Bell from the Boxing Source. If you haven't already, please go subscribe to my brother James Bell from the Boxing Source. Any parting shots for our listening audience, brother?
I guess I'm looking forward to these fights coming up next weekend, but they should have something here for Pro Box as well this weekend.
Yeah, that's several friends of mine are going to be on that card in LA.
Yeah, they said it's a marathon of fights. They said it started like 4 p.m. and then like pretty much in around like 11 or something. So it's gonna be a huge set of fights there for Pro Box there. So I guess I could look forward to that. They're saying like Pro Box TV's mammoth 9-hour fight night is live this Saturday.
Well, I tell you what, they picked one hell of a weekend to have the marathon. Because I tell you what, look, as much as I love Pro Box and I love all the fighters there, yeah, I'm sorry. My focus is going to be on Anthony Joshua and Errol Spence Jr. I'm sorry. That's it. James, your official prediction before you leave the air for all of these fights next weekend.
All right, you're gonna have Fury by stoppage there against Mary Schwach. For Joshua, versus Prang. I mean, I still have Joshua by stoppage. Like
I hope so. I hope you're right.
And for Spence versus Zoo, Spence TKO 9. I'll put the round on it for that one. Spence TKO 9
at 160.
Yeah.
Wow. I tell you what, man. if for the business of boxing, what's best for the business, I hope you're right.
Right.
I hope you're right. Guys, let's just end it on that. Guys, on behalf of the incomparable J.R. Bell from the Boxing Source, I'm Joseph Herring. You've been listening to War Week Radio. Have a wonderful weekend, everybody.
W.A.W presents Big Time Boxing USA on War of Week Radio.